So let's dive into this whole fascinating scenario where America's allies, yep, you heard that right, are starting to ditch the F 35.
Right, it's wild. Initially, all these NATO countries had lined up to buy the F 35s, correct?
Exactly, they were all in, committed to boosting their defense, especially with all the global tensions and wars swirling around. It was
Yeah.
seen as a cornerstone of military strength.
And then, out of nowhere, they start dropping these commitments like hot stones. What's behind that sudden shift?
Well, it gets really interesting here. President Trump has been a huge proponent of the F 35, practically singing its praises, pushing production, and encouraging allies to buy it. But now, with his approach, many see buying these jets as a major strategic risk.
That does raise some red flags. I mean, it's like the Allies are rethinking the trust factor, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like when you realize that the supplier itself might have, a hidden agenda that undermines the security of the technology. Allies are now questioning whether it's smart to trust American technology, especially when political interference is so palpable.
Right. So, it seems it's not just about cutting edge tech, but also about the geopolitics behind it. And Trump's bullying style is really coming into play here?
Exactly. It's almost as if his aggressive stance, his sort of unilateral pushiness, has set off alarms. Allies are now reevaluating their defense strategies and questioning if sticking with the F 35 might leave them vulnerable to unwanted American pressure.
Yep. I find it intriguing how defense procurement now isn't solely about performance, but also about the political reliability of the provider.
Yeah, exactly. It's like imagine if you were buying a smart home system and suddenly the manufacturer started dictating how you lived in your own house. That would be a deal breaker, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the trust factor and the fear that your, well, assets might be compromised. But then, isn't it a bit unfair to blame everything on just one person?
That's a great point. While Trump's strong personality and his, unfiltered style certainly played a significant role, it's also indicative of a broader issue. Allies are becoming increasingly skeptical about over reliance on American military tech when it comes with strings attached.
Right. So you're saying the problem lies with the system itself, not just one leader's approach?
Yeah, exactly. When you factor in strategic risks, if the technology can be a tool of political leverage, the inherent value of the F 35 starts to diminish in the eyes of these countries. It's almost like a built in vulnerability.
And this shift, I mean, it's a pretty clear sign that trust in American reliability is eroding. Isn't that a risky sign for the country's broader defense partnerships?
Definitely. Think about it. Alliances are supposed to be mutual and built on trust. But if major allies start seeing American military hardware as a potential liability, that could lead to alternative alliances or even a push for indigenous systems.
Right. It's almost a domino effect, isn't it? Once one major partner rewrites the trust equation, others might follow suit.
Exactly. It's like an avalanche. Once the perception shifts, you get a cascade of rethinking. Like, suddenly, countries that were in the F 35 club are exploring new, independent, or even alternative partnerships, potentially with non American tech.
Yeah. I wonder, do you see any potential solutions or workarounds for this issue? I mean, can the US mend this trust gap, or is it too late?
Well, it might depend on if there's a shift in domestic policy and leadership style. If the messaging becomes more, internationally reassuring, and if they can demonstrate that the tech remains secure and free of undue political influence, maybe they could mend some fences.
But isn't that a tall order? Changing perceptions, especially when so many allies have already felt burned by the impression of political coercion?
Absolutely, it's not a quick fix. The reputational damage might take years to undo. It's a bit like trying to rebuild trust after your best friend accidentally, you know, breaks a promise
Uh-huh.
repeatedly.
It makes me think about the broader implications for global defense markets. If allies start distancing themselves from American tech and, say, invest more in European or indigenous designs,
Right, and that could shift the entire balance of power in defense production. There might be a surge in, alternative fighter jets or completely revamped systems that, while not as advanced as the F 35 in some aspects, are seen as more politically neutral.
yeah, indeed. And while you might argue that American tech is technically superior, the strategic risk factor might outweigh that advantage.
Exactly. It's a risk reward recalibration. There's a trade off between cutting edge performance and the vulnerability that comes with political strings. Allies have to weigh if, in the current global climate, it's worth the high risk just for that technological edge.
I also wonder about the economic angle here. With so many allies rejecting the F 35, would that in turn affect American defense contractors or even domestic policies?
That's a great angle. Fewer orders could mean a shakeup in contracts and production targets. It might force the industry to innovate or look abroad for partnerships. The ripple effects can be enormous on both sides of the Atlantic.
Right. There's this ironic twist where, despite America's push to spread its tech, its own political posture might be undermining its economic and geopolitical leverage.
Absolutely. It's almost like self sabotage. When you let personal or nationalistic bravado overshadow strategic partnerships, the long term fallout can be severe.
So, are we looking at a potential realignment of global military alliances here? Could this be the beginning of a retreat from traditional US influence in defense?
It might be. As countries continue to assess the risks of relying on US military tech, you could see more nations seeking diversified defense solutions. It's a bit like, instead of keeping all your eggs in one basket, they decide to scatter them around.
Right on. That's a vivid analogy. Eggs in a basket, yes. But let's play devil's advocate here. What about the quality and ongoing support of systems like the F 35? Aren't they still among the best in class?
Sure, on paper, the F 35 is a highly advanced integrated fighter jet with unmatched technology. But it's not just about the hardware. The strategic association and the broader implications of ownership carry immense weight. If allies feel boxed in by a politically charged supply chain, even the best tech might not be enough.
I get that. It's a delicate balance between cutting-edge performance and maintaining sovereign strategic autonomy.
Exactly. And in today's geopolitical climate, allies are more cautious about where they place their bets. They need assurance that their defense investments won't end up being tools for political leverage.
Yep, definitely. And if we think about future technology acquisitions, this could set a precedent. Allies might push for more transparency and neutrality in military tech deals.
Right. It's like they're saying, I need advanced defense tools, but I also need to ensure that my strategic autonomy isn't compromised. That could lead to an era where political and economic factors are weighted even more heavily in procurement decisions.
Absolutely. So, moving forward, do you see any chance that this trend might reverse, or are we locked into this new mindset?
It really depends on how the political dynamics evolve. If there's a shift towards more predictable and mutually respectful international relations, there might be room for a comeback. But if the current climate of assertiveness and unilateral moves continues, this realignment might just be the new normal.
Yeah, interesting point. It's a critical juncture for not just defense procurement, but also for international trust and cooperation as a whole.
Exactly. And if history teaches us anything, it's that trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild. These long-standing partnerships now have to adapt to a shifting landscape where reliability is measured more in political behavior rather than just technological prowess.
It sounds like we're witnessing, in real time, a significant transformation in strategic alliances, one that could redefine global defense norms.
Absolutely. And it's a fascinating, if troubling, development. Allies are recalibrating, and it's not just about the jets, but what they represent. Trust, security, and the assurance of national sovereignty in an increasingly uncertain world.
Right, indeed. Well, this conversation really opens up a lot of questions about the future of military alliances and technological reliance.
It does. And as events continue to unfold, we'll surely see more debates around how political leadership shapes defense strategy. The implications go far beyond just buying fighter jets. They redefine the strategic fabric of international relations moving forward.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Thanks for unpacking this with me. There's so much to reflect on regarding trust, technology, and the balance of power in today's world.
Anytime. It's always a thought-provoking journey discussing how global politics, defense technology, and leadership styles all intertwine.
Yeah, very true. And that wraps up our deep dive into this unfolding narrative. A wake-up call, really, for anyone pondering the future of international defense commitments.